This is not worth the bit. Is that 11 seconds? I've gone back and forth on whether I should play the whole song at the beginning of each video, but I think that would just get long and annoying and feel kind of weird. So I just suggest listening to the song before you watch its respective video, so you're familiar with it. Since this is the first song in the first video, I'm going to give a little bit extra context at the beginning. So Hot Mulligan is a band out of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and their current lineup, although they've had rotating members, is lead singer Tade Sanville, secondary singer and guitar Chris Freeman, drummer Brandon the Best Blakely, guitar Ryan Spice, aka Spicy Maliski, I think is how you say his name, and Jonah Fantasy Camp Kramer on bass. That being said, when Fenton came out, only 2 members of the current lineup were with the band, the founding members, Chris and Tades. There were other members with the band, and I don't want to get the dates and everything wrong, so I'm just going to trust Wikipedia. Here's a graph on Wikipedia showing band members and when they were with the band. According to an interview with Chris, he said Fenton was just supposed to be a one-off project and they expected to break up afterwards, just kind of rent a studio and make some songs and be done. But obviously they hit some success and kept going and have blown up since then. So 11 Second Burp is a relatively, for Hot Mulligan, low-key track that just kind of builds the whole way through. And it starts off with this twinkly guitar shit. Which is subdued in this song, but it's a staple of Midwest emo. It's gonna show up a lot, and Hot Mulligan plays with it in a lot of ways. So instead of pointing it out every time, I feel like I thought it would be a good idea to just have like a visual to go along with it. And then I had this dumbass idea where we'll just take Chris and Spice, and then we'll just kind of cut off their heads and then put them onto Tinkerbell's body. And so now there you go. Here's Twinkerbell. I realize trying to combine Twinkle and Tinkerbell made it sound like I'm calling Chris and Spice twinks. That was not my intent. I'm not saying they're twinks. I also realized that telling someone that they're not a twink could also be seen as an insult depending on how they want to be seen. So I'm also not saying they're not twinks. I'm twink neutral on Chris and Spice. But anyway, here's Twinkerbell. I'll have them show up whenever the guitars are twinkling. To me, 11 Second Burp is a story. It's one of the most narratively focused songs in their whole discography. And it tells a very, on the surface level, typical story of Midwest town, 2 teenagers in love, not allowed to see each other. So the song opens up with,
and the lights behind your house won't feel the same when you're allowed to see me. And the light on your garage is keeping you away.
Immediately you get this clear picture of 2 teenagers in this, first relationship, maybe, whatever it is, who aren't allowed to see each other for some reason. And one of them, in their bedroom, in their house, has a garage light that shines into their room at night, and it's bright enough that they can't fall asleep. It just fills the whole room with light. It's followed immediately by this line.
Can I hope you won't be sleeping anytime soon?
So at first, when I hear this line, it immediately feels like it's sort of maybe malintent or something. My immediate interpretation is that the singer's sort of reveling in the fact that this other person can't fall asleep. Maybe they had a fight or a falling out or a breakup or whatever, and now he He doesn't want her to get relief or sleep. He hopes she doesn't fall asleep anytime soon. He hopes it stays bad. But then, with some of my favorite imagery in all of Hot Mulligan's discography, the next line kind of flips the script.
And I hope you won't be sleeping anytime soon. Watch my shadow light up your room. You'll hear my voice soon.
Now, there's a lot more that's going to get unveiled about the story as the song goes on, but I fucking love this line. With the first couple sentences, we set up a classic story of two teenagers kept apart by their parents, then allude to some possible ill will between them. But then the singer's shadow lights up the girl's room, blocking out this garage light and giving her the peace to finally fall asleep. And he reminds her that she'll hear his voice soon. I take this as they can't talk right now because of parents or the situation or whatever. So the only presence of his that she can feel that he can give to her is his shadow filling her room. He knows the garage light keeps her awake at night, and he sneaks into the house every night to stand in front of the light so she can fall asleep. I mean, for one, holy shit, I love that image. It's such a simply conveyed idea, but such a emotionally rich situation. The guy could easily just like cover up the light or take out the bulb, but he chooses to stand in front of it because that's the closest they can get to being together. Literally his shadow or his echo is the only thing that can be in her room with her, be with her, but that's enough. It's better than nothing. Then if you think back to the line right before this, the I hope you won't be sleeping anytime soon, it gives it a whole new meaning. Because at first, while it might have been something more malicious, I hope that you're suffering, I hope you can't sleep. Instead, it takes on a almost still kind of selfish but self-conscious tone. He doesn't want her to not be able to fall asleep out of some pettiness or anger, but he doesn't want her to be able to fall asleep because he wants his comforting act to be helpful and to be needed, and he wants to be needed. He wants her to rely on him, I guess, is how I read it. And yeah, that's not healthy, but this song's about teenage love, which is messy and sometimes selfish and usually doesn't work out. It's just a really good emotional description of this very universal situation that a lot of people live through. Anyway, I just fucking love this intro so much. But before I go on with all this stupid talk, I have a theory. So hear me out, right? They said it's the garage light lighting up her room. Now, I don't know, maybe I don't know my garage lights well enough, but when I imagine a garage light, I think like a two-door garage light on the top above the door thingies, right? So that's like what, like 8 or 9 feet up? But he says, watch my shadow light up your room, implying that he stands in front of the light. Tade Sanville is a normal height dude as far as I can tell. He certainly is not 8 or 9 feet tall, and certainly wasn't when he was a teenager. How the fuck is he standing in front of that light? Unless she's on the first floor and he's standing in front of her window, but I think that is less cute sounding and much more creepy sounding. Regardless, this is my tinfoil hat theory. We'll come back to it in a little bit and you'll see why it all makes sense. They thought of every fucking angle. So, moving away from the intro, we go into this instrumental that builds up the pace and the energy a little bit, and we get into the rest of the context.
Don't feel rushed when you're thinking of what to say. We got 73 more days, anxious conversations, keeping us entertained as we wait for the summer to finally break our doubts and disbeliefs, keeping us up late.
Tades is so easily able to dole out little pieces of context so that we can put together this larger narrative. The way that I think the average person would interpret it, right, is most likely the parents of these people aren't letting them see each other for whatever reason, whenever they can. But when they go to school together, the parents can't stop them from seeing each other. School is where they're able to be together. So this kind of like beginning of the summer, they aren't allowed to see each other. They won't be seeing each other for the entirety of the summer. which is forever when you're in high school, whatever, 2 or 3 months or something. He says 73 days, right? I know that's not exact. I don't know how long summers are. I think it changes. Fucking Phineas and Ferb had 104 days for some reason because they lived in the best school district ever. It feels like these two kids are in this new, exciting, and scary kind of teenage love, and all they're trying to do is just bide their time for these 73 days until they can see each other again and keep getting to know each other and just being together. It's this very like longing, just hold on a little longer kind of vibe. I've always interpreted the anxious conversations keeping us awake line as these two communicating the only way they have the option to, which I assume is text or maybe phone calls. Like lying in bed late at night, texting one another. I think it's a very universal experience for a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers who are, you know, in this kind of puppy love, and they're texting each other, and you're anxious because you don't know what you're saying and you don't know what you're supposed to say, and it's just, I think it strikes a chord with me, and I assume with a lot of other people, this idea of staying up late texting someone, both being because you're excited, but also because you're anxious and you don't know what to do. It's just a very emotionally impactful line. Tades is speaking about these doubts and worries that he thinks they both have of, you know, is this going to work out? Are we actually going to last through the summer? Or will it all be different by the time we get back to school and can be together? And I think those are very common concerns for kids at that age, and he just puts it into words wonderfully. This is also probably almost certainly reading too far into it, but I really like the idea that all of this is coming from the singer's perspective, from Tade's perspective, right? So in a way, it's kind of like he's projecting those doubts and anxieties onto this girl as well. Like, we don't know if she actually is concerned about it, but it's almost like he's saying, we're both anxious, we're both doubtful. And it's kind of like another anxiety that the singer could have in their own right is, what if this other person is just doing this for fun? What if they don't actually feel or care enough to be as scared as I am right now? Again, I think that's probably overthinking it, but I love the idea of that, and it's a very human, very vulnerable, overthinking kind of step-by-step how you would logically go about things. And all the while, the music in the background continues to build and spiral as the singer's mental state spirals and as he starts to think about this relationship and its shelf life. And everything comes to this crescendo at the next part.
Staring out the window, wondering if you'll open yours when your parents fall asleep.
Again, simple words, powerful image. Now, it's not just this boy is walking over to the house, standing in front of the window or the light or whatever. Staring out of the window, to me, implies this boy's driving over every night, waiting dead silent, lights off, until he thinks the parents are asleep, hoping the parents are asleep, so that he can step in front of the light and maybe him and the girl can talk or just know that they're there, but he doesn't want the parents to know. And I love the word choice that he doesn't say, staring out of the window, waiting for you to open yours. He says, wondering if you'll open yours. And that, I think, choice of wondering over waiting kind of ties back to the idea I said earlier of he's anxious that his feelings aren't reciprocated, or at least aren't reciprocated to the same level. It's not just a question of, are the parents awake? Are they going to find out? It's, is she even going to open the window? Has she moved on? Does she care enough anymore? It's such a raw, teenage, insecure feeling. And he does such a good job saying, I know I've said that over and over. I'm going to say that through every video of every song. It's why I like Hot Mulligan so much, is I feel like their music is so upbeat and you can just dance to it and enjoy it. And the lyrics are so emotionally vulnerable and relatable. What if she doesn't want to open the window? Then I'm just sitting out here in the dark alone. I mean, God, what a fucking heart-wrenching picture. Pause again. We're going back to my garage theory. So, he comes over. He's not tall enough to stand in front of that light that's shining into her room, right? But he came over in a car. So here's my theory. I posit that the singer, Tades, whoever, is coming over, waiting for the parents to fall asleep, getting out of his car, climbing on top of his car to stand in front of the light. Bet you didn't think about that, did you, fucking idiot?
Keep a secret, I'll keep you in mind. Everything you know eventually works out in time.
Now, I'll admit that I'm not sure what the keep a secret part exactly means. Fitting into my general narrative I've been putting together, maybe it's he's concerned that she's keeping the secret, that she's just, you know, playing along for the fun of it. She doesn't really care like he does. And then I love the line, everything you know eventually works out in time. It calls back to that idea of 73 more days, right? The summer's just starting. They're desperate to see each other, but they just have to wait, saying, just hold on, this relationship, the anxiety I'm feeling, like all these questions, they're all gonna get answered if we can just hold on. Just please don't lose interest. Just please don't let us stop being together. It's such a, like, just bide your time, hold on. It's such a human desire to hold on to something that you're afraid is gonna slip away. The song ends with the music crashing in the background and Chris in backing vocals yelling, please fall asleep.
Keep a secret, I'll keep you in mind. Everything you know eventually works out in time.
So I feel like most likely it's that please fall asleep is directed at the parents, right? Fall asleep so we can talk to her, so we can see her, whatever. It could also be directed at the girl, right? Regardless of all his anxieties and whether or not it's selfish to feel the way he feels or to want her to not be able to fall asleep, he's doing it because he knows it will help her at the end of the day. So that could also be it. This song just like hits the proverbial nail on the head of teenage love story. Just like so many of the songs that, you know, inspired it, the pop punk Midwesty emo shit. It's all, like I said in my intro video, all about that kind of whiny teenager trying to get through his emotions, right? And we'll see as Hot Mulligan's discography continues, they don't just keep doing this. They explore different things and grow up with it, and it's just a beautiful start, I think, to all their music. And like a lot of their songs, I think if you dig a little deeper into it, it's not just about two star-crossed lovers who aren't allowed to see each other. It's about this teenage boy's wrestling with his anxiety and his self-worth and just a bunch of shit like that that's so universal for everyone. Fenton as a whole, in 11 Second Burp, being their first song and being their first project and being one that was made to just be a one-off, rent out a studio, make it, and then break up, inherently has a very homegrown kind of hodgepodge feel to it. But in my opinion, instead of making the record feel more like amateur or making it feel less narratively concise, it actually enhances it, because the whole narrative of this record is about small town teenagers, down to earth, emotions that everyone understands, everyone can feel, and just putting it out there very vulnerably and very raw. That's about all I can come up with for 11 Second Burp. So here's another clip of the band doing some dumb shit.
We're Hot Mulligan. I start every tour with no socks and underwear, and then I buy them as I go. I haven't gotten any new underwear yet.